opposition leader, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, has vowed that the country will not give up on its movement for democratic change. This comes as two of the opposition leader's closest allies were arrested today. Joining us for more on this is Elena Korosteleva, Professor of International Politics and Director of the Global Europe Centre at the University of Kent, and a Belarusian herself. Elena, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So what's your reaction to these arrests then? Will this hinder the campaign?
Well, the members of the Coordination Council, they've been threatened on several occasions now. The two arrests that happened yesterday, one of them, Sergei Dulevsky, he was arrested and now sentenced to 10 days in jail, and Kovalkova at the moment is still in detention. Pavel Latushka, another very prominent member of the council, has been now questioned on several occasions, and his house has been vandalized and he was threatened. And tomorrow what we will see is Svetlana Alexievich, who is a Literature Nobel Prize winner, is going to be questioned as well. But despite this intimidation tactics, as you can see, the protests still continue. It's now the third week of protest, and today, especially on particular day of Belarus Independence Day, thousands of people still took it to the streets, joined on the Independence Square to demand freedom and free elections again.
So how hopeful are you that this would lead to any kind of change? Do you think there's a danger it might peter out at some point?
Well, I hope I'm sure that mobilization will continue. And the Coordination Council has been making a number of statements. Well, first of all, one of the statements that they made, I believe today, was actually about clarifying Belarus' position vis-à-vis different claims. For example, vis-à-vis the claim from Sergei Lavrov, who recently said that questioned the legitimacy of election, the selection of the Coordination Council, but also the legitimacy of the program. So the Coordination Council made it clear today that there is no geopolitics here involved. It is very much about peaceful transfer of power, and it is also about ensuring and organizing free and fair elections and also free non-political prisoners. So these four claims have been made very clear today, and it is just, we're just hoping that possibly through international mediation, including OSCE, there will be some consensus reached to allow people to fight for their freedom.
And how representative are these protests? Do you get a sense that it is a majority of the public? Do you think the president really would have lost the election?
The president has lost his political legitimacy, absolutely, because it is now it is the vast majority of the population that have now been mobilized. And even through the various platforms where votes were registered and accounted for, even by some accounting, Tikhanovskaya must have won with absolute majority of the population. So it is the absolute majority of the people, and of all ages and all walks of life.
And presumably President Putin will be keeping a very, very close eye on that and will be very much behind the Belarusian president.
Not necessarily, although he is, of course, keeping a very close eye on the situation in Belarus, because, of course, it is in the interest of all parties for Belarus to remain stable and not to descend into the civil war. For Russia, it is important simply because Belarus is is that very important crude oil supplier of Russian oil into Europe, but it is also a transportation corridor. So basically, Belarus is a bridge between the West and the East. So for Putin, it is important that the country remains stable, and then then no military force would need to be involved in order to keep the order there. But at the same time, he's also concerned who might be the next possible candidate. So, of course, he's considering a lot of options at the moment. But as the opposition already stated on several occasions, that what is happening in Belarus is nothing to do with geopolitics. It is neither anti-Russian nor pro-Western. It is simply, people simply want change, and they simply want a new government that would not be abusive, repressive, intimidatory, and would actually work with people to make the country worth living.
Elena, thank you very much indeed. Elena Korosteleva, Professor of International Politics and Director of the Global Europe Centre at the University of Kent. Now, scientists have started UK trials